45 years in keeping Louisville weird, Electric Ladyland has been there for all your eccentricities. While they do offer the best smoking supplies out on the market today, there's a whole lot more to check out. From ashtrays and blacklight posters, to records, incense and burners, and items to stock your metaphysical supply. They're open from 10 to 10, 7 days a week, located at 2325 Bardstown Road in Louisville, Kentucky, and at electricladyland420.com. Roll out.
Hey metalheads, you like tattoos? Of course you do. If you're in the Louisville, Kentucky area, come on over the bridge to Clarksville, Indiana, and get you some ink done at Ageless Art. If ink isn't your thing, they have a piercing studio as well. Visit agelessartclarksville.com to see some frequently asked questions, meet the staff. The shop is open Monday through Thursday, 12 to 8 p.m., Saturdays, 12 to 10 p.m., and Sundays, 12 to 6 p.m., all appointment-only spots. You can set up your appointments by phone at 812-283-1793 or email agelessarttattooandpiercing@gmail.com and someone will get you set up for your first or your next tattoo or piercing.
Hey metalheads, after going to a rager, what's your ultimate go-to? Mine is totally pizza. So when Overload is playing, or I'm promoting the Metal Forge live showcases, or the big goddamn metal show, I go to Pizza DoNisi. Pizza DoNisi is gourmet artisan pizza from right here in Louisville, Kentucky. It features things like the pizza of the month, the sandwiches, and also vegetarian and vegan options, which is so totally fucking cool for all of it's awesome pizza. You definitely want to go. Hey, and also from time to time they do cannolis. Oh, so fucking good. You know what they said, man? Leave the gun, take the cannoli. Yeah, just like that in Godfather. They're located right next to the Mag Bar at 1396 South 2nd Street. So either stop in or call in at 502-213-0488. They're open till midnight. The witching hour.
Heineken? Fuck that shit! Pabst Blue Ribbon!
Hey metalheads, you all hear me talk about Mag Bar all the time. It is the home to the Metal Forge live showcases and is an integral stop in the ultimate underground metal tour schedule. They obviously feature live music, but the Mag Bar also has daily specials like Pint and Slice Night on Tuesdays with Pizza DoNisi. But they also do Bring Your Own Vinyl on Thursdays with DJ Kent Jackson, and Finer Things Sundays. Located right next to Pizza DoNisi at 1398 South 2nd Street, open 3 p.m. to 4 a.m. 7 days a week. Get your asses out to the Mag Bar. Rock out.
In a broken wasteland, come to my fire and place your blood and steel upon my pyre. Oh, this is the Metal Forge. 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 Metal Forge. My furnace
going on, metalheads? Thank you all for tuning in to this week's episode of the Metal Forge. My name is Mark Jackson, and I am your host. Holy awesomeness. Yeah, I'm always saying like holy shit or what the fuck ever, you know, at the beginning of an episode, it seems like. So here we are, another week, and by this, the release of the episode, we are at the summer solstice, which, as you know, is the longest day of the year, of daylight time, you know, the longest the sun is in the sky. And hell yeah, you know, if you are a celebrator of that, you know, have an awesome solstice, my friends. It's rad, you know. I've become more, I don't know if I want to say spiritual, not like in the whole religion sense, but just like the everything is everything, you know, which is an interesting point of why this week's guest is who it is, which, as you see by the lettering, it says like A-R-D, but it's actually pronounced Arth. And we get into that in the interview with the doctor of heavy metal, literally a doctor of heavy metal, Mark Deeks from Arth. Super rad, fucking down to earth dude. We got to talk for a minute, promoting their new album. I say they for like every band, I guess. It's just a force of habit because Mark does do all of the writing and recording. They do play live. So there is a live band with this. But the new Arth album, Untouched by Fire, came out on April the 26th, I believe, which was the birthday. There was so much going on that day. Oh my gosh! Not only was it my birthday, it was. You know, I was promoting Tombstoner Flesher and Sinistrom at the Mag Bar. It was Tombstoner's album release. It was, holy shit, who else was it? I think that was the episode that I had Mauricio Iacona from Cataclysm on as well. So, yeah, super rad, dude. Like, that's been like a real cool central point for the birthday this year, because it's been 2 months and I've been talking about it ever since, and we've had just so many awesome albums come out around that same time period. So yeah, the new album Untouched by Fire, it's 6 tracks, but there, you know, there's nothing left on it. There's everything and the kitchen sink, as it were. Because the first track, you know, Cursed to Nothing But Patience, is over 9 minutes long, and Casket of Dust is 9 minutes long as well. So there's some real long bangers on this album. I think the shortest song is oh my gosh, what is the short song? There's a 3-minute song on here, but we're not going to do that one today. So, you know how we always are. We always do a song before and after. Which, is that cool with you all? Do you all like that still? I mean, what do we need? Is there anything we need to change? I always send out some call to actions here and there, and you all know I always do this. If you're an avid listener, if you're a casual listener, you've heard me reach out before. You know, give some stuff in the comments. Give some suggestions, you know. Message either the Instagram or the Facebook page. Let us know what you would like to hear different. Would you like to have, you know, more deep cuts? Would you? What kind of questions do you want to hear? You know, what's your favorite parts of the show? You know, so just send some messages. You know, just reach out, man. We're cool around here. At least I like to think we're cool around here. I know I try to be. But anyways, you know, so instead of keeping you all rambling, because this is such a cool interview, and again, thank you to Doctor of Heavy Metal Mark Deeks for doing this interview, and, you know, shout out to you all, just as fucking awesome people. I appreciate the fuck out of you all listening every week, and, you know, tuning into the live streams, which I've had some fun doing. And this past week's live stream on Wednesday, I actually had Aaron Ossont from Ossont&Battery jump in, and we talked on there for a little bit. along with some other people from that were just watching the stream. That was super fun, and I might try to do some Metal Forge scheduled, maybe on the fly interviews. Maybe come out on do a Wednesday at 9 live stream with somebody, and we can do the thing. I might try to do it over on the YouTube page to build YouTube followers as well. So if we do that, I'm definitely going to be talking about it. Jason will be talking about it. Aaron will be talking about it. Everybody will be talking about it. Daniel, fuck yeah, man. So I appreciate you all for tuning in each and every week and liking the page and liking the posts and doing all the cool things that we do with metal, So fuck yeah, let's have some fucking fun here this week. This is from Untouched by Fire from Arth. This is Name Bestowed. What's going on, metalheads? This week we are back with Mr. Mark Deeks from I don't know if I got that right or
well, it's Mark Deeks for a start.
That's what I said, right?
Oh, sorry, I couldn't hear the S on the end, so I thought I was Mark Deek for the day.
Oh, no, I thought I said Mark Deeks.
Not again.
See? I get so excited. Dude, what's going on? How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Thanks very much. How are you doing?
I am fairly well. By the time we're recording this, you might hear about this in like a couple of weeks. But like, I was up super early. I ended up falling back asleep, and now here I am. It's like the crack of one for me in the U.S., and it's a nice evening for you over in the U.K. And
yep.
Hell yeah! So how are things over there right now? Because here, we're in the full blown political season. That's all freaking nuts, and I'm sure you all are watching TV over there, being like, "What the fuck are those guys' problems?"
Well, I can honestly tell you that I stopped watching the news about 3 or 4 years ago, and so I have very little idea what's going on now. Which there are pros and cons to it.
Sure.
But the biggest pro is I just don't get stressed by the news or angry by the news or like wanting to go through the telly and get really angry
and choke people out. Yeah, I get you.
So I mean, I basically resigned myself about 4 years ago that if something really important was going on, someone would tell me about it, or if I needed to do something, someone would tell me about it. And it's worked pretty well so far. But I then the downside of it is I feel like I should know more of what's going on. I decided, I wanted to prioritize my family. I wanted to sort of be more focused on things that I felt I could have an impact on.
Sure.
And certainly my having previously engaged with the political scene as a member of the public in the UK in my younger life, I didn't really feel like no matter what I did, I felt like I was having any benefit to me and the people I knew on the ground, kind of thing. And it was just making a different person that I didn't know richer.
Sure. No, and I think that's a big thing that a lot of people, I've kind of done that over the last few years as well, where it's went from like checking it a couple of times a day to maybe checking it a couple of times a week on like certain news sites and stuff like that. And I say certain news sites because obviously the news is a lot of times politically driven from either side. And, so it's like finding a nice impartial that's not a parody site is the hardest part. Where it's,
absolutely.
You can only take so many Onion articles before you're just like, come on, guys, come on.
Yeah. No, I mean, I probably scan the headlines once or twice a month, maybe, just to see if there's anything like urgent that I should know about.
Sure. But, yeah, like any invasions coming up. Or
Are there any aliens heading my way? If not, just as you were.
Absolutely. So we're here today to talk about. When I look it up on Metal Archives, it's pronounced Arth. Is that right?
It's pronounced Arth.
Arth.
So
I was kind of right. Well, go ahead.
As if you were going to say the word Arthur, but the TH is supposed to be a little bit more, a little harder. So the TH, as if you were going to say they, rather than the TH in the middle at the end of Earth.
Sure.
So
Arth. And I actually had consulted Google on the pronunciation of the word, and it made it like a cough, like a like when they had done that. So that's why I was always interested about it, is because I got the email from it might have been from Secret Service at this point, and because all my stuff's running together lately. But no, so I got that email and I listened to it and I was like, wow, this is really fucking awesome. And
thank you.
I'm not, I like a lot of doom and stuff like that, but I don't have a lot of doom bands on the show. And when it comes to like, you know, heavier, more like symphonic, melodic, you know, sometimes, you know, it's got to be a mood thing for a lot of people. And over here, you know, even in my region, my area, and I'm in the Midwest, we have a lot of like pretty cool doom and melodic doom bands as well, stoner groove, things like that. And like this, I just laid this back on and immediately was taking it in the new album, which is Untouched by Fire. When I get proper with it, the album Untouched by Fire, which, you know, I was amazed by. And, you know, it came out on April 26th, which is cool because that's my birthday and everything. So,
obviously that was important.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And from everything that I have seen, you are about like Northumbrian history.
Yeah, so Northumbria is the region that I'm from in the northeast of England. It's right up in the top right corner, borders onto Scotland. In modern language, it's called Northumberland. We tend to use the word Northumberland more than Northumbria, but historically it was more commonly referred to as Northumbria. Yeah.
Sure. And, you know, with the historical... with everything historical from that area, you know, where you've got like in the 1200s, like William Wallace coming in to that side of England and everything, and it's just so wild that's what the basis of the music is that historical aspect of things.
Well, Arth is about a period of time, a long time before.
Before that, yes, before that, like in the 800s.
600. This is the 600s.
Oh wow!
Both the first album, Take Up My Bones, and the new album, Untouched by Fire, are both set in the 600s.
Wow!
In Anglo-Saxon Northumbria.
That's amazing. So when you wanted to do that, like what made you go back even farther? Because there's a lot of that history that went back into series of myth. Because with the like the Norman invasion in around 1000 to 1100, you know, a lot of that English history is gone now. So what made you want to choose that time
I'm just
frame?
I'm just really interested in how musicians represent where they're from. It's been a passion of mine for quite a long time. I don't know if you know, I wrote a PhD about it, about national identity and regional identity in heavy metal music. So my PhD's in that aspect of heavy metal music.
Oh wow! No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I finished it about 8 years ago or so, and it's just called National Identity in Northern and Eastern European Heavy Metal. And so it's about the trend that we've seen over the last 30 or 40 years of bands across the heavy metal spectrum and extreme metal spectrum, including elements of where they're from. So everything from, you know, I guess the American bands like Man of War sort of dabbling in a bit of Norse mythology.
Sure.
Obviously, that isn't representing where they're in particular from. But then if you look at bands like Amon Amarth or Amorphis from the Scandinavian regions, Amorphis from Finland. If you look across to Eastern European bands like Drukt from Ukraine, UK bands like Primordial, Winterfilleth, who I'm also a member of.
Well, one of the newer bands that I've really wanted to have on the show and we haven't worked it yet is Witch Hazel.
Sure.
They do the same thing, you know. They do the historical deal. Theirs are during the Crusade era. And
yeah, and they obviously couch it in a very sort of Christian outlook.
Sure.
But what a lot of people have sort of picked up on with Arth is, you know, why are you writing about saints and so on from like a seemingly religious and Christian outlook? But Arth isn't a Christian band whatsoever. I personally came from a Christian background, but I would consider myself an atheist.
Sure.
But the reason that I'm writing these albums is because in Northumbria, it's absolutely impossible to separate history from religion, because Northumbria played a very significant role in the bringing of Christianity to England. England as a whole, not just in Northumbria. Oswald, who this album is about, is considered one of the key figures in English history of bringing Christianity to England. And yet there are all kinds of tales of important figures in English history that are from Northumbria, where there is effectively the battle between Christianity as the new religion and a pagan past.
Sure.
With the it's impossible to separate these things.
Yeah, I've actually been. It's so interesting that you bring this up like that, is because I've actually was going through some mythology books that I had, and where the fight for the island of Scotland with the Tuatha De Danann and the modernized, like, not like today's, but the introduction to Christianity into Scotland and England is very interesting. And
yeah, well, that's what this album is as its starting point. You know, Oswald, who becomes King of Northumbria, flees into exile on the island of Iona off the west coast of Scotland, with his mother and his brothers when he's just a boy, we think around 10 years of age. And whilst he grows up into a young man, he becomes a warrior and fights for a lot of the Irish tribes, the Dalriada tribe being one we think that he fought for significantly, but also converts to Christianity with the monks on the island of Iona. So by the time he returns to Northumbria we think around 28 years old, so he's been away about 18 years, he's now a very proficient soldier and has earned this nickname, Lamgwin, which is an Irish word which means white blade. He has also converted to Christianity, and he brings these two distinct elements of his personality and his life now back to Northumbria, and is a victor as a warrior in terms of defeating Cadwallon and becoming King of Northumbria, but also then sets about converting Northumbria into Christianity.
Amazing. And like I said, this album is rad as hell. Obviously this is melodic doom is what it's called. What it's considered. I can't say what it's called because it's always subjective. Art is always subjective.
Sure.
What people call doom, some people call something else, and so on and so forth. I tried to stay up to date with, like, Chuck on that, about the over genreification of metal and death and thrash and subgenre of everything. So obviously this is you're doing this, and so when you go to set out to write, how do you do it? Do you map out what everything is going to be about, the parts, or do you just let it flow? How do you work it out?
So it's always music first for me. Music first, lyrics second. I have usually an idea. Obviously, we're only up to the second Arth album, but the way it's worked so far is I know what story I want to tell roughly, like which character is going to be the main lead character of the story. But then I don't set about writing any lyrics until quite a long way into the process. So I will have music probably 50 to 75% written for the whole album before I set about lyrics. I know the story in terms of who's going to be the story's going to be about, but I haven't then written that into lyrics. And when I'm writing the music, I'll tend to say to myself, I think this section is going to have vocals in. I think this section is not going to have vocals in. But nothing more than that. I'm just sort of mapping out a framework. And then what I tend to do next is have the story arc of the whole album, because Arth albums are what you might call concept albums. It's
sure.
They're about one character, and it's a case of dividing the story arc into however many songs are going to be on the album, and saying, right, where are the significant moments in this story arc? Where do we want the story to begin in terms of this character? Where do we want the story to end in terms of this character? And where are the dividing points on that journey? So with Oswald, the album begins with him fleeing into exile as a boy, goes through him converting into Christianity and becoming a warrior, goes through him returning to Northumbria, defeating Cadwallon and becoming King of Northumbria and uniting the two regions of Benicia and Deira together. Then his reign as a king, then his defeat in battle to the pagan warrior Penda at the town that we now know as Oswestry. And then the final track is about the myths and the legends that start to surround the soil of where he fell, the land of where he fell, starts to have all kinds of mysteries associated with it, in terms of literally people start to collect the soil and it was said to have healing powers and so on. So there was all kinds of mysteries that after he'd gone started to be associated with the tale of Oswald. So that's kind of how it works. Write the music, get the story arc, divide it up, and then it's like a jigsaw. Like, which of these pieces of music that I've crafted or I'm on the way to crafting sounds like him coming back to Northumbria? Which is the one that is going to make the one about the mysteries and the legends? Which is the one about going to be going into exile as a child and so on?
Right. So you're working in the arrangement of everything. Like you write them all as individual pieces with possible tag backs here and there musically, because you are telling a story. But it sounds like what you do is say the first track you wrote was Name Bestowed musically, and it falls in line as the second piece of music on the album.
Yeah, they could be all over the place in terms of. I'm really writing a concept album as one. There might be sort of 6 different tracks, but which one is going to be which in terms of the order is only thrashed out as I go. It's not like, so for example, in like a lot of bands, and certainly in Winterfell, when we make a record, we might end up with 12 songs finished or whatever, and then they're all completely finished, and then it's a case of what's the running order, what's the track list on the album. But with Arth, it's not like that. The track list becomes part of the compositional planning process as I'm going. Everything is taking shape almost at the same time. Music, lyrics, running order, the story arc, everything is being worked on simultaneously.
Definitely. Yeah, and that's a pretty cool deal. I've been parts of my band have been that way for a while, and then they've been where it's kind of been painstaking, where everybody kind of just needs a break from one another. But yeah, that's totally rad. And I imagine that like people like Ian Anderson, when they were doing concept albums, when it was a new thing in the 70s and such, were doing it a similar way. That they had a distinct way for it to go. So when you are doing your albums, obviously, let's touch on this, because this actually really impressed the shit out of me. And
thank you.
You always see bands today put out albums, and then you might a couple of years later see a reprint on like a different color vinyl or something like that, whether that be major bands do that, or even today when bands do reprints of their catalog from a decade ago or something. But you all actually have deluxe editions of albums.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all planned out in advance. So the only thing that caught us out was when Take Up My Bones came out. The limited edition color of that was called Blood of the Saint Red. It was like a marble red.
Sure.
Because it was about Cuthbert's remains. And with a new, like any new project, you don't know how many it's going to sell, and you don't know how anyone's going to receive it. So there were 500 vinyl in total between the black and the Blood of the Saint Red, and they sold out in like 6 weeks.
Damn.
So then we were caught on the hop a bit because at the time, like many bands, have been struggling to get vinyl pressed, and the vinyl lead times were so significant that it took a year to get a repress of vinyl. So the second edition is Born of the Saint White. So I tried to sort of have a little reference to the story. It's all part, even the color names are part of the story. And also, what I'm going to say it now because I don't think I've mentioned this in an interview yet, but why not? So on the second version, the second print of Take Up My Bones, the first album, there's a slight change on the artwork on the front cover to the first pressing, so that if you know you've got the second pressing, but it's like a little Easter egg to see if anyone noticed it. And like one fan sent me a message to say they noticed what the change was, but no one else has said anything yet. So I'll just leave it at that and see if anyone notices. But if you look at the front cover of Take Up My Bones on the first edition, the first vinyl pressing, and you look at it, compare it to the second vinyl pressing, there's a change, so you know which one's which. But it's subtle. You got to know what you're looking for.
That's the thing digitally. I don't know if I have the artwork up for the first or second printing, you know?
Yeah.
That's
well, it's just I like these. You know, I'm a fan at the end of the day. I'm a metal fan at the end of the day, and all these things are the kind of things I like it when bands do, and to look like they put some thought into it, and so yeah.
No,
I like to try and make it all part of the package.
I always thought it would be a cool thing to. I always like album covers that reference other things. So, for example, like if you had an album cover that could, from one album to the next, like could butt up against each other and make like a panoramic picture or something like that. And I always loved like getting the J-Card cassettes when I was a kid that had the big fold out, and it was all one picture in the fold out. That shit was always cool to me. So yeah, I totally dig that. And the other cool thing is I like, I'm actually a fan of the Somewhere in Time cover, and where I know Maiden hates it, and most Maiden fans don't like it because it was just like a thrown together thing. I actually liked all the references to everything else, like the trash box, the Aces High casino or whatever it is, and you know, just all of the stuff. I do like that. Because I'm a nerd.
Let's face it, Somewhere in Time is 10 out of 10. There's nothing you can do about it, so just accept it.
Sure, exactly. And I mean, I think that works for an album. But no, what I was getting at though is, so you have like deluxe editions where they're like 2-disc sets, and with on Untouched by Fire, it's 2 CDs and a DVD and an art book. That's awesome. Because like, you know, I always look at bands today, unless you're signed to a major company that has distribution from like Sony or somebody like that, that you're still an independent musician for the most part.
Sure.
And that's just something that you really don't see independent musicians doing, is, you know, like 2 and 3 disc sets of things. And because ultimately, yeah, it is a cost, but you have to know that, I guess you have to know your market well enough to adjust for it.
Yeah, I think for me, you know, being signed to Prophecy Productions, who've got such a great reputation and a history for making premium quality physical products, I just, you know, they've always been very supportive of Arth in terms of, you know, what can we do to make this a cool sort of collector's thing. And yeah, like you said, they come with a cost and they're more expensive, but to be honest, like the deluxe edition for Untouched by Fire with the 3 discs is so far the most popular format.
Sure. Well, yeah, I think everybody likes that stuff, and you know, you do have your diehards who have to have everything, you know. Yeah. And have you noticed that with your people? Like, you'll have like a digipack version, you'll have a jewel case version, and you'll have this big 3-disc thing, and they buy every single one of them.
Yeah, I've got a few people like that. I think, you know, with Arth, it's always going to be a niche, small band. But what's been cool about it is that the people who've got into it have really got into it.
Sure.
And what's been cool about it in particular is, of course, most of those people are not from Northumbria. This is people all over the world who have somehow detected the soul of the music and can identify with perhaps their own culture or their own mythology or history. And just identify with the themes in some way. But yeah, there've been people who bought all the formats and all the different colors and taking photos of the albums in the place where the story was set and everything. So yeah,
that's cool. Awesome. That right there is so cool. And that, yes, to me, if that was my goal to set out to do, boom, mission accomplished. And that's all. Yeah, that's all that matters, really.
This guy, not long after Take Up My Bones came out, there was a guy who, the story of the first album is about St. Cuthbert, and his bones and his relics are said to be in what we now know as Durham Cathedral, which is one of the most famous cathedrals in England. And it's a city a little south from here. And he took his blood red vinyl and balanced it in front of the cathedral on a windy day.
Oh, wow.
And apparently took quite a lot of effort to try and get the perfect shot of the vinyl not blowing over. And so you could see the cathedral in the background and the red vinyl and everything. And then he sent me it. I was like, that's really cool.
That's amazing. You know, I love stuff like that when you get pictures back from people and they're like, like sticker here or do the thing. I love that stuff. Yeah, man. I like the album. I think it's amazing. I cannot recommend it enough to everybody, for real, because honestly, it's on the list for that's gonna have it's on the list for top albums so far, but it's early in the year still.
Yeah, of course.
So
there are a lot of big bands bringing out records.
Oh no, I don't put big bands on there. I specifically tried. They get enough press from everybody else, and yeah, we'll mention whoever, but like, you know, I'm not gonna put the new Bruce Dickinson album on my top 5 this year. I'm not going to put
Is that because it's not very good?
No, actually, he's going to be on somebody like Metal Sucks.
No, I understand.
Metal Injection. He's going to be on their top 10 list more than likely. So will Judas Priest. So will, you know, any major metal band that puts out an album this year. And I just, you know, but bands like Arth, Haunt, Seven Sisters, Night Demon, those bands, they need the recognition.
That's a nice approach. I appreciate that. No, I mean, don't get me wrong. I really like some of the Bruce Dickinson album, but I also think there's some absolute turkeys on there. I'm going to see his show in a few weeks' time, so I'm really looking forward to it.
You know, by the time this is airing, it's this coming up weekend, but it's a while back. Is the only North American show. And he's playing with Night Demon, actually.
Oh, okay, cool.
So yeah, that's pretty rad too. But I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to Derailed. This is 5 questions just about you as a person.
Okay, cool.
And you did say earlier that you have a PhD. Mm-hmm. So you are a doctor of heavy metal.
That is true.
Fuck yes. Have you ever had a disastrous interview other than this one? No.
A disastrous interview? I wouldn't call any of them disastrous. I had one interview recently where I wasn't quite sure of the angle of why I was there. when it turned into a bit of a rant from the presenter, but no, I wouldn't say I've ever had a disastrous interview. You know, so you can tell when someone is in it for the right reasons. In terms of the interviewer, I think you can tell when someone has done their research. I mean, obviously, part of the game is to answer some of the same questions over and over again, and I get that. That's cool. That's no problem.
Sure.
But every now and then you get a question and go, nice. You put a bit into thought into that. So no, I wouldn't say I've had any disastrous ones.
Good. That's awesome, because everybody is different with their approach to interviews. You know, like I said before recording, and I try to like tout this off anyways. This is a conversation-based podcast. What we get into, we get into. You know, I don't have a set of questions, and even with Derailed, I try to ask different questions to everybody, because you can only handle so many. What's your favorite food? Or, you know,
sure.
You know, what's the worst album from your favorite band? That was one of my old ones that I really liked, because it
is a good question. Yeah.
Yeah. What is your perfect day from the moment you get up to the moment you go to bed?
Oof. That's a tough one. I mean, I am by nature quite an introvert, so I don't feel like I need a lot of people in my day usually.
Sure.
I work from home quite a lot, and for my job as a musician, and I work as a speaker. I speak about the connection between music and mental health. So it's nice to connect with other music fans who get what music does for them. But you know, if my day includes my wife and my daughter and music, and maybe you know, I'm a huge football fan as well, so what you guys would call soccer. So if those are the three things that mean the most to me, like family, music, and football. And so if my day can include those three things, I'm pretty much a man of simple pleasures.
Sure. And I totally dig that. You know, I get that. You know, if I could work from home, I work the nearest I could it's not next door, so I can't say that. But I literally live 3 minutes from where I work, 3 minutes from the shop where I grocery shop, you know, and that's it. And other than going to shows here and there, that's it, you know, and band practice. And that's all I need. And my 2 cats. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I should have mentioned my dog, sorry.
You did. I think you said your wife, your daughter, and your dog. Yeah, so hell yeah. What is the grossest thing you've ever seen someone do in public?
Oh, Jesus. The grossest thing I've seen someone do in public. Okay, I was once at the Wacken Metal Festival in Germany, and it obviously, like a lot of metal festivals, these things get sweaty and muddy and
smelly.
You know, personal hygiene goes a little bit out the window.
Sure.
And I saw at about 1 a.m. a very, very drunken person, a very, very drunken man in a kilt, with a lady under the kilt. I'll leave the rest to your imagination.
Wow.
But I remember just thinking, that can't be nice down there.
You gotta want it. You gotta want it. You know, and yeah, I had, when you started the festival thing, I was assuming that's where it was gonna go. You know, I think we've all kind of seen something like that, or been in that situation. I don't know. Yes.
Let's just leave that one hanging there.
Yeah, literally. What is your favorite thing to keep in the freezer?
That's a good one. I mean, ice is far too obvious, right? So,
yeah.
Well, my wife's a really great cook, and so she, which I'm very lucky to have in my life. So she will often like make too many portions of food, so that it's easy one day to just grab something out the freezer and, you know, heat up the leftovers kind of thing.
Sure.
And yeah, that's always a really nice, easy meal to make, which always tastes great.
Oh, yeah. You know, that is an interesting concept, too, because obviously I am a big guy. You know, just like most Americans, you know, as George Carlin would say, they like to eat. No. But no, going from a place where I would cook for multiple people and then being in a place where it's just me, I still I'm like, I have to catch myself because I'll be making a meal for like 6 people. And I'm like, what are you doing, dumbass? It's just you. And then I'll have like carnitas tacos for a week.
Yeah, but when you're busy, it's useful, right? Just grab it.
Sure. Oh, it absolutely is. And, you know, I'm a kitchen gadget, like, weirdo. So, like, the air fryers, crock pots, toasters, sandwich makers, I'll try a kitchen gadget at least once. So
yeah, home comforts.
Yes.
There's a lot to be said for them.
yes, there really is. And, for everybody out there who doesn't get to experience that shit, it's like, kind of makes me feel like fortunate and kind of like, wow, man, that kind of sucks. I need to do better with helping people out sometimes,
Yeah.
So I have one more question, but before we get into it, as always, links are listed below, so please give a like, a share, and a follow. Go support in any and every way you can. One of the things we didn't get into talking about, and I might just go ahead and bring this up now because it hit me.
Sure.
And that's what we do here. We tangent. That's why this is called Derailed. What about a live setting? Is this ever a possibility to do full band production?
Well, it has been already.
Well, see,
so,
I assume so because I saw the DVD of a live
disc.
performance.
Yeah, so the bonus disc on the new album is there's three discs. So there's the album itself, then there are a DVD and a CD of what we call the Organic Doom Show, which is where we did the album in full with live pipe organ playing at the same time.
Sweet.
So that's the bonus collector's version of Untouched by Fire. But yeah, Arth has done about 6 or 7 shows now, and it's a different beast. But yeah, I put together a live lineup with some of my closest friends and members of other bands that I'm close to, and we played at the Prophecy Fest, which is the label's own festival, in a cave in Germany. We did that in 2022. We're doing that again this year in 2024. We played at the Hammer of Doom Festival in Germany, supporting My Dying Bride at the end of last year. So we did a little show in Rotterdam with Officium Trist, the great old Doom band from there. So yeah, it's about 6 or 7 shows now that Arth's done. We played the Fortress Festival in Scarborough. So yeah, it is a live beast. It was never intended to be a live beast. It's very much.
Sure.
I play 70-80% of everything on the record. So to put it into a live setting when it was written with so many vocal layers and guitar layers and cello layers and keyboard layers, it's just so many layers on record that putting it into a live setting was a challenge, and it wasn't its original intent. But when I signed to Prophecy and they said, if anyone ever asks, would you do this live? And I said, well, yeah, but I'm not going to do it half-assed. I don't want to do it in a sweaty rock club for 10 people. It needs to have a set of grandeur. It needs to have a sense of occasion.
Sure.
And so it'll never be a big touring band because Arth isn't of a big enough standing to warrant a big tour, and I'd rather protect its sort of its atmosphere and its element of mystery and its setting of grandeur, like I say. So special one-offs, I think, are where Arth will remain.
Absolutely, and I think that's a great thing, actually. Obviously, that also brings up, anything, if ever, the United States would be ever considered, or would we be, or, anywhere else. Obviously, because it would have to be a spectrum, it would have to be warranted, and it would have to be a special event. And that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are 6 of us who do it live, so it's obviously not cheap to get 6 people anywhere these days.
Sure.
Even getting 6 people to Holland, the ferry is nearly £1,000 from the UK. So, yeah, it very quickly gets very expensive. But yeah, I'm open to any conversation of anyone who wants to talk about Arth coming in and playing their event. Just reach out to me. I do it all because it's just me. So
sure.
But yeah, there is a live lineup, and if we can make it work, then yeah, I'd love to.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. So as I was saying about links being listed below and all of that a minute ago, do you have anything else you would like to promote or give shout-outs today?
Just that, this is not music for everyone, and that's fine by me. But I think that when you are the kind of person like a lot of people are who sort of flick through all the new releases and give them 14 seconds to decide whether they like it or not, Arth's not that music. Arth is music that rewards patience, and I'm cool with that.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. For me, no, I can't do the 14-second thing. When I get recommended albums from people, I do try to do the thing of listening to everything, because I am very much I am a deep cut person, where like I like most B-side tracks more than A-side tracks, and so yeah. Give everybody the time. That's really where it's at. Because, like you said, it might not be for you, but you might know 5 or 6 people that you can turn it on to based off of whatever song.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is, music which I realize is unusual in a lot of its combinations, and it's a niche of a niche of a niche in many ways. But I think the people who have invested a little bit of time in it have been rewarded.
Sure, I think so too. Hell yeah. Dude, Mark, final question of the day is, why do you think it's important for us to learn more about space?
Oh, wow. I didn't see that one coming. I think I'm kind of an inquisitive person. So I don't have any knowledge about space any more than the next guy, really. But I think it's healthy to have a what if kind of attitude. I think it's healthy to have a sort of an inquisitive nature, and I think it's healthy to challenge the established narrative a lot. I think that's a little bit what I've tried to do with Arth, and that whilst it on the surface appears to be very religious music, it's absolutely nothing of the sort. And I try and poke the bear a little bit in terms of is what we've been told here really the case?
Sure.
And I think that the kind of idea about the victor controls the narrative kind of thing, and a lot of the texts that we have written from the period that I write about were written by Christians and Christian monks and so on. Well, that's bound to affect the story. So I think you can apply that to anything, and I think it's healthy to have an inquisitive mind and challenge what we're told and challenge what we accept as fact. And I think you can apply that to any subject, and I see no reason why you can't apply that to space, because we don't know until we know, right?
Sure. Oh, no, absolutely. And as you made the perfect point in there, and even still, like, that's how the movie Braveheart starts, is history is written by those who hanged heroes.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with that. And, I'm a wrestling nerd, so like WWE, all that shit. I like to look at on the tabloid, like behind the scenes type stuff. And, that's a big thing, even in today's standard, where they made their own version of history, that the way they did the company. And, that's just the thing that people do, and it's kind of weird to see it happen. You're like, I was there for that. That didn't happen that way.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's even harder, obviously, with stuff 1,400 years ago, because nobody was there, and nobody for sure knows.
No, and not a lot of it is written down. So it's only we have to challenge the narrative. So, like, for example, in the new album, the story revolves around Oswald being this great Christian king who was this very glorious and holy man who did the work of God, etc. And wouldn't, is portrayed as being the good guy in the story.
Sure.
By the people who wrote the text. In particular, a guy called Bede. There's a book called Bede's Ecclesiastical History of the English People, which is like the main text of that era. Bede was Christian. So the question as I was researching the album, the question that appeared was, when Oswald dies in battle, he's not in Northumbria. He's quite a long way away from Northumbria. Well, what was he doing there in a battle? Well, the chances are he was probably trying to expand his kingdom.
Crusading.
That doesn't sound like a very Christian thing to do, does it?
No.
So, and of course, I don't really have any leaning either way in the story, but I just have this kind of like, I enjoy sort of poking the bear, as I said, slightly, and sort of go, well, is therefore what we're being told about this holy man 100% true, or was he, I don't know, polluted by power? Did he fancy expanding his kingdom? We don't know.
Sure,
but we can't just accept one person's verdict and say, oh, what a great guy.
Exactly. Exactly. So on our way out today from the new album, what do you want to play?
Well, the first 3 tracks have been the promo singles. So as a fellow fan of a deep cut, I think you should play the final track, Casket of Dust.
Ooh, hell yeah. Here it is, Casket.
In 2017, one man's vision and passion for all things metal started out as a record store in his house. Years later, the fight against a mainstream empire continues as Shadebeast. An independent metal collective and online store based in Athens, Georgia, is the world's premier heavy metal brand for music heads that value authenticity over the mainstream acceptance. Featuring original t-shirts from some of the best underground artists, as well as stickers, posters from the Shadebeast Presents concert series. Unique, one-of-a-kind collectibles and small curated selection of vinyl and cassettes from the masters old and new. Visit shadebeast.com and enter promo code SithLord for free domestic shipping on your first order, whether you're a new customer or returning. And be sure to join the Shadebeast social groups on Facebook and the interwebs to keep up with the new release announcements and talk all things metal and Star Wars. You'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and filth.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Since 2013, there has been a calling from the underground, from the graves of all those unholy, and they decided to make a zine to talk about all of this. Soul Grinder Zine! An independent metal zine to keep you informed on all things metal and horror from the underground. Available in both print and digital formats, they're bringing you the best interviews and reviews out there today. Not only do they do the zine, but they also do compilation CDs. Check them out at facebook.com/soulgrinder.zine and start your subscription now.
Hey everybody, let me tell you about the new sponsor to the Metal Forge, Unchained Tapes. They're an independent Pennsylvania tape label. They focus on extreme metal and punk with a killer approach to the tape scene. Visit their web store at unchainedtapes.bigcartel.com now to get your fill of tapes. And for being a Metal Forge listener, enter the code METALFORGE10 at checkout to get a 10% discount on your total purchase. That's unchainedtapes.bigcartel.com.
What's up, Metal Forge fans? This is Alan Bishop, the alchemist of Indiana's Black Forest and head distiller at Spirits of French Lick. Do you find yourself drawn to the unexplained, fascinated by the Fortean, or enchanted by the paranormal? If the things that go bump in the night resonate in your mind, then tune into my brand new podcast, If You Have Ghosts, You Have Everything. Featuring first-hand accounts, collected stories, interviews, history, and speculation related to all things not of this world. Available now on Anchor, Spotify, Google, Amazon, and more. Sit back, relax, and remember, if you have ghosts, you have everything.
Hey, let me tell you guys about Mercenary Press. They're an independent London label and distributor of all things metal. Mercenary Press delivers the goods from their own independent zine. Trust me, you're going to want to get in on that. To distributing various bands from all over the world, including Cramp from Spain and Sadistic Force from Texas. Visit mercenarypress.bigcartel.com to find out what all they have in stock and what you can order. And for Metal Forge listeners, enter code METALFORGE10 to receive a discount on your total purchase at mercenarypress.bigcartel.com. Check it out now.
Hey Metalheads, it's with great pleasure I get to tell you guys about a new sponsor to the Metal Forge, Ageless Art, New Albany. After 20 years of owning and operating Ageless Art in Clarksville, Indiana, Phil Garrett had a vision for a new type of tattoo studio. Something that is clean and modern, sleek, refined, inviting. And he's done just that with Ageless Art in New Albany. You can find it at 2736 Charlestown Road, New Albany, Indiana, 47150. Business hours are Monday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Sundays are 12 to 6. All sessions are appointment only, so give them a call and go get you some new ink. Or if it's your first time, go get your first one, baby.